In the last episode, I started by doing some ancient debris mining. I then finished by building up this boat, including all of the interiors. But with the boat done, my starter base still isn't finished. I still need to build a big fishing village going along this area here, which I'll be working on in today's video. To start off, I want to lay an outline of where I want everything to go, and for that I want to use some red concrete. And all you need for that is some sand, some gravel, and a little bit of red dye. And with those items collected, I'd say it's time to place some blocks. I didn't do much vertical planning, but if you look from above, you can start to see the scale of the project and where all the buildings are going to go. I imagine I'll also be putting a few more buildings across this hill here, but I'm not working on this area today anyway. In this episode, I'll be building up this area, which will act as the village's marketplace. It'll be mostly filled with a bunch of different market stalls, and I'll imagine I'll put some villagers in all of those as well. But before we do any building, we're going to need some materials. I still have a bunch of dark oak wood and some spruce wood from building the boat, but that's not nearly all we need. So I guess it's time for a time lapse. Well, that took a while, but I ended up with 9 shulker blocks, all pretty much full of all the random stuff I'll be needing for today's build. In this area of the build, I'll be sticking to these 4 main color palettes. These first 3 are more earthy tones, which should hopefully work well when built against this dirt hill and having the jungle as the background. And for the 4th one, I use these gray and blue tones that I'll use to break up these earthy ones whenever I feel necessary. I'll also be using some brightly colored wools that will hopefully add some interest as well. As you can see, I just finished building up this main platform and a few docks in front as well. As of now, these docks are looking a little bit plain, so I'm thinking of weathering them a bit, as they likely would be being this deep in the water, especially over time. I'm fine for now, but I might need to continue last episode's spruce deforestation, because this is what's holding up the village. But anyway, I think it's time we put up some buildings. And just like that, the 3 big buildings are complete. For these buildings, I tried to make it look like a bunch of different smaller buildings were all squished together to make one bigger one. It took me a while to figure out how I wanted to build these, but I think they turned out pretty well. And hopefully at this point you can start to see what I was talking about earlier with the color palettes, where these kind of earthy tones blend in with the jungle. Looks like there's a wandering trader over here. Let's see if it has anything good. And of course it doesn't. And since we're not that far into this world, I thought it'd be a good time to mention that the chances of me building interiors are very slim. Pretty much the only time I do is if it's a big or functional interior. Much like I'll soon be doing to all the docks, I used a variation of slabs and stairs to make all the roofs look weathered or destroyed, and then used some hanging roots to sell the effect even more. Before I do any more building, I think I want to repair some of my tools, and my brother's built an Enderman farm, so I think I want to head over there and get some XP. So I guess I'll just be sitting here punching Enderman for a while then. And just like that, with the exception of my sword that doesn't have mending, all my tools are repaired. Which I guess means I can get back to building. Well, after I pay, of course. Alright, now I've got all the market stalls built, which means apart from a few small details, all of the building in this marketplace area is complete. I think out of all the shops that I just built, my 2 favorite ones are this one here, because I just like the way the roof turned out on this one, and then this little flower stand as well. I think eventually I might replace this middle area with some barrels, then hook up a flower farm so it's actually functional as well. Originally right here I was going to have 2 stations where these boats would be built and painted, but since we're in the marketplace, I decided to turn them into display stands and write for sale on the front. Although it's a bit far away, I think my favorite view of this area is from the ship. As you saw during the time lapse, I also went ahead and added some weathering to all the docks. I did this by adding some slab stairs and trapdoors, so that way you can see some water through the dock. I then added some pressure plates so that the dock's a little bit less flat. I definitely say that makes them look a lot better. However, when I was working on the docks, I noticed that from underwater, this area doesn't look that good. So to fix that, I think I want to add a few fence gates down here, and then add some coral onto these support beams. But in order to do that, I kind of need to get some coral, so I guess it's time for a bit of a boat adventure. And here we are. I think I'll go ahead and get at least a stack of each type, and then head back home. I'm back at home now, and I've gone ahead and placed down a bunch of coral. And I think along with some glow lichen that I mixed in there as well, it adds a bunch of much needed life to the underwater portion of this area. Originally I wasn't going to be building anything here in this episode, but I figured since it's the only building on this side of the marketplace, I might as well. And it's not that difficult. All I need to do is set up a bit of a platform, some walls, a roof, and then finish by adding some detail. And this building's just supposed to be a little fishing shed. On the backside of this building we have a little table with some fishing rods on it. And I forgot to mention this last episode, but I'm playing with a texture pack that allows item frames to be invisible, so that's how I can do stuff like this. I think this whole area is looking pretty good, but the inside of the market stalls are looking pretty empty, so I think I want to put some villagers inside. So I guess I'll just wait here until nighttime, and then go find some zombie villagers. Alright, I've got a few of them following me now, so I guess the best thing to do is just put them in a hole and come back with all the stuff to cure them. Alright, I think I've got everything I need. So the next step is to just splash them with some weakness, then feed them some golden apples. And then just wait. There we go. While I was waiting, I dug out this little area, so I can breed all the villagers before bringing them over to the marketplace. And all you need to breed them is a few beds and then some bread. I'm just finishing up the rail to transport the villagers, so hopefully by now there should be at least a few in there. Perfect. I might wait a few minutes for them to grow up though. Might have been smart to use power drills. But anyway, there's number 1. And number 2. Oops. No. The villagers. And number 2 again. Hopefully it stays this time. If I'm not mistaken, which I very well could be, I believe I could just put the workstations underneath the trapdoors. And they should be able to connect to it. Not the one I was going for, but at least I know it works. So I guess while I'm waiting for more villagers over at the breeding area, I might as well just break and replace this until I get a trade that I like. Alright, I've got a Silk Touch trade for only 6 emeralds, so I think I'll lock that in, then go check on the villagers. And it looks like they've all grown up, which means they're good to bring over. Alright, well that took way longer than I care to admit, but now I have a villager in each of the shops, all with trades that I want. I'm thinking these 4 red squares will also be market stalls, which will have a few more villagers as well. But so far I've got Silk Touch, Efficiency 5, Power 5, Fortune 3, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. And now that I have a Power 5 villager, I can finally get a somewhat decent bow as well. Placing their workstations underneath the platform didn't work out too well, because the villagers were delinking and relinking to other ones, so I ended up having to work them into the shops, which I don't think looks too bad. One of the main reasons I got villagers so early on is that I want to be building and decorating with barrels in this area. And in case you didn't know, the barrel is one of the many villager workstations. So if I had this whole area filled up with barrels, then brought a few villagers over, chances are they're going to connect to the barrels. So let's say I wanted to connect them to a lectern, I'd pretty much have to go around and break all the barrels, which would defeat the purpose of placing them in the first place. But with that said, that's it for me today, so see you all in the next episode.